The Sigma 16mm f1.4 has been the gold standard for APS-C wide-angle lenses for nearly 10 years. But now, Sigma is back with a new, smaller lens to rival that classic, the Sigma 15mm f1.4 DC Contemporary. But can it live up to the standard of the classic? Let's find out. So the Sigma 15mm f1.4 is an APS-C wide-angle prime lens, and I'm reviewing the Sony E-mount version. And the price is $579. So I've bought this lens myself to review, so as always you are getting my honest thoughts and opinion. And if you enjoy camera and lens reviews like this, including the original 16mm, subscribing to the channel really helps me out a lot. Okay, so let's have a closer look. The lens comes in Sigma's very stylish premium packaging, which they upgraded to this type a couple of years ago, which in terms of quality puts most other manufacturers' packaging to shame. The packaging is almost entirely cardboard and recyclable. And there's nothing out of the ordinary in the box. It comes with documentation and with a plastic petal-shaped lens hood included. The lens comes in a small drawstring bag as well. Straight away, the lens feels solid and premium in the hand, with a high-quality, all-plastic construction which helps keep the weight low. A closer look at the lens, it's fairly small in form factor at just 8 centimeters long, which is just over 3 inches, and weighs around 220 grams, which is just over half a pound. Looking closer at the lens itself, there are 2 rings on the lens, one for focus and one for aperture control. At the front of the lens is the focus ring, which has a smooth, continuous motion, while the aperture ring sits behind this with notched travel from f1.4 to f16, with then a small gap to the A auto aperture setting. The notches make it so you can't easily knock the aperture by mistake, and in my opinion make quite a satisfying little click. Under the front plastic lens cap, you can see the lens information printed, made in Japan, 15mm f1.4, and with a 58mm filter thread. Under the plastic rear lens cap is the electronic connection, of course, for the autofocus, and I'm happy to see there is a rubber gasket for weather sealing. So this lens has a fixed focal length of 15mm. With a fast f1.4 aperture designed for APS-C cameras, meaning this gives you roughly a 23mm full-frame equivalent field of view. So yes, it is wide-angle, but it's not so wide-angle that it's difficult to compose your shot. It's ideal for landscape and especially with that fast aperture, low-light photography. And it's a great focal length for in-studio shots such as this one. I'm recording this entire video on this lens. At this price point, you'll be relieved to hear that this lens does feature autofocus. As you would expect from Sigma, it is a fast, reliable, and pretty much silent autofocus, great for both photo and video work. It is one of the faster autofocuses I've used recently, which is very impressive as across the board, they are quite fast anyway. Now, there is some focus breathing with this lens, noticeable when zooming in and out and when grabbing focus. It does seem to just pull back very slightly, so worth bearing in mind if you are grabbing focus quite quickly. Now, unfortunately, there is no built-in image stabilization with this lens, so you'll want to pair it with a camera that has better in-body stabilization if you're shooting handheld video. It's a shame at this price. I do want to start seeing some optical stabilization on lenses in this price point, but hey, let's see where the market goes over the next few years. And of course, all the footage and photos you're seeing here have been shot using the Sigma 15mm f1.4, and I'm pairing that with the Sony ZV-E10 Mark II camera. And that, of course, includes this video here, so you can see the video quality for yourself. So let's have a talk about that image quality, and this is where Sigma lenses usually shine. Wide open at f1.4, this lens is incredibly sharp in the center with impressive detail. The edges are a little soft open wide at f1.4, but only right in the corners, which is to be expected wide open at such a fast aperture. All you need to do is stop the lens down to about f4 and sharpness across the frames improves significantly. There is also some vignetting, which is the darkening around the edges of your shots wide open at f1.4, which is to be expected, but it improves quickly as you stop down at around f2. It's mostly gone already. Thanks to that wide f1.4 aperture, it's also great in low light. And you get surprisingly smooth background blur when shooting close to your subject. Better, I think, than the Sigma 16mm was. It also does benefit from a minimum focus distance of just 15 centimeters, which means that you can get up close and personal with your subjects and keep them in focus, which does give you the opportunity for fantastic background blur and subject separation. Unfortunately, there is some purpling of details wide open at f1.4, as you can see on this text. Not very noticeable, and mostly gone if you stop down to f4, but worth noting. At 15mm, this lens is perfect for landscapes, wide-angle video, vlogging, and shooting in tight indoor spaces. It gives you plenty of room in the frame, while still maintaining great image quality. However, like most wide-angle lenses, it's not ideal for portraits, as you'll start to see distortion if you get close to your subject compared to other options. So I wouldn't be picking this up if you were after a portrait or an entirely all-rounder lens. Now, compared to other options, this sits at a more premium choice over budget lenses with that price of $479. But you're paying for that f1.4 aperture and Sigma's excellent optical quality. So should you buy the Sigma 15mm f1.4? Well, if you're looking for a high-quality, wide-angle APS-C lens with incredible sharpness, great low-light performance, and reliable and super quick autofocus, the Sigma 15mm f1.4 is a fantastic option. For me, it will replace the Sigma 16mm f1.4 for my in-studio shots like this, as it's much more practical at about half the weight and half the size. And you do get that extra 1mm wider focal range, though that doesn't make a huge difference. However, if you do already have the 16mm, it's probably not worth upgrading just for these reasons. It's still a very good lens. So at $479, obviously this lens is not cheap. But for what it offers as a portable landscape lens with great low light performance and excellent autofocus, and is also fantastic for video, this lens is absolutely worth considering.